point do you now begin to date? Do you begin to realize maybe these guys were right? Are we in a relationship? Like, at what point do you begin now to date?
No, I didn't assume until he asked.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell us more about
At some point, he actually just says, I would like you to be my wife. And of course, I fled that like the Samburu I was. I almost moved houses. I was so terrified. I was like, what? No, of course not. That's the first thing I said. What? No, of course not. I don't want to be your wife. Then he says, won't you at least pray about it or think about it? You're just reacting. I'm like, okay, I'll go and pray about it. And I go and think about it. And I think about it. I'm not praying about it, I'm just thinking. I am thinking all the reasons why this is just so wrong. I don't know anyone from West Africa. I don't know anything about. No. In my mind, there's a big no. So after I think 4 days of completely avoiding him, he corners me and says, are you not coming for some soup? I've made some soup. And I'm like, no, I don't want some soup. He says, no, you come. There's an answer you need to give me. So I go and I take the soup and I look at him and I'm like, do you know? No matter how much I've looked at this thing, it just won't work. Yeah, so he insists I go and pray about it. And I actually went and prayed about it. And that night I had a dream about it. And I think I had a dream conversing with God about getting married to him. And I said, God, why would you want me to get married to somebody I don't even know? And I have this argument in the dream with God, and God just says, the ministry I'm giving you is to serve Francis. When you serve Francis, then I'll give you your own ministry. And I'm like, why would you do that? That's unfair. Why do you want to tie my service to you to somebody else? I just want to serve you as my God. And he says that you will be serving me when you do that. So after that, some time again we meet and we start this question.
So wait a minute, so this voice you heard it from where?
It's a dream I'm having.
Oh, it's a dream that you are talking with God?
Yes, it's a dream that I'm talking with God. I'm actually completely asleep and this is the conversation I'm having with God. So when I wake up in the morning, I said, okay, God, I am going to say yes. So we meet and he asks and I said, yeah, I think it's a yes. And then we begin to talk about some plans and I don't know what, and I say, no, I think it's a no, it's no. And I run out of the house and I'm like, God, it's not going to work. So I actually ended up saying no 4 times before I finally said yes. And by the time I said yes, it was like, yes. So that's when now we start dating. That's when now we start making plans, even to do premarital counseling and things like that. We didn't start dating until when I had said yes, because for me it was not a relationship that was going to work.
Going back to the time I made the announcement that to the group that this was my intention of what I've asked God for, she wasn't actually in my mind. But with time, I realized that there are so many things we coordinated together, and I didn't even need to ask. She's able to do that. So I said, hold on a minute. It can't just be a coincidence. It should be something that is beginning to gel. Somebody was saying the chocolate started melting. So what came to now, for the first time, and to be honest with you, that was the first time I asked a lady. I didn't know where I mustered the courage from. But I said, okay, what will happen? It will not be marked on my skin whether she said yes or no. Let me just ask. So truly, when I asked her, she took off. I said, okay, I think it didn't work out, but fine, we can just be friends. Why? We have been friends all this time. This question shouldn't change our friendship. So when she came and I asked her, have you prayed about it? You are telling me no, you have not prayed about it. She said, no, I have not prayed about it. It's just no. It can just not happen. West Africa, East Africa, she gave all the reasons. I said, okay, fine. So another time I asked her, I said, have you thought about what I asked you? She said, no, of course it's no. I've already told you it's no. Okay. So I think this thing went on for about 4 months or so. So finally when she came to say yes, I said, why did you say yes? I said, I had a dream, and this is what God is talking. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I said, you have to be my wife. Because I cannot do it alone. So she looked at me and said, so what have you been talking to God about? I said, that's the same thing he's telling you. So he just I said, okay. When she said yes, I said, are you sure it is yes? Because last time he told me yes and it became no again. I don't know where we stand. I said, yes, it is yes. So okay. So of course, when she said yes, I spoke to our visiting pastor from Australia, Pastor Chris, and he was so excited with the wife. He said, we are the ones going to walk you through premarital counseling. So every week now, that's the time now we started talking about dating and all that, and preparations, and things went on, and we had the favor from almost everybody. It's like everybody was just waiting for that occasion. So that's how our dating started.
First, we dated for like a year because we were like, we really needed to know each other. we didn't know each other. We've been busy knowing everybody else. We didn't know each other. So we gave ourselves space. Met every week for prayer, praying about the wedding, praying about our family every week. Met every week for counseling. And so we grew into knowing one another. We were sure about the wedding that we didn't want to spend money that we didn't have. We didn't want to prevail on the other students to fundraise for us, so that was not going to be an issue for us. We're going to have a church wedding, that we knew. And we told God, you send us, help us. Whoever will come, will come. Whoever will not come, will not come. So the wedding was literally a student's wedding. Students from every country offered to help. There were students from Cameroon who cooked something. There were students from Nigeria who cooked something. There were students from Tanzania. In fact, the pilau we served at our wedding was purely made by a young man from Tanzania who imported all the viungos from Tanzania and came and cooked our pilau. So it was like, so the students fellowship participated, but even other students who are not part of the fellowship participated in our wedding. We had an amazing wedding. We didn't even have wedding clothes. By the time we were going to sleep on that night, the wedding clothes were still on their way from Ghana because we had vitenge for our wedding. They arrived at 1 a.m. When everyone had been there, the lady was doing my hair, was a Kenyan lady, and Suju doing what? All that was in place, but we had no dress, and so we couldn't buy jewelry and we couldn't buy the shoes because we didn't know what color the dress was. At 1 a.m., somebody comes who had flown in from Ghana that day, arrived in Moscow, flew into St. Petersburg, and took a taxi and arrived at our hostel at 1 a.m. is when now we were fitting the dress. So when the people came the next morning, is when they were wondering, did the dress arrive or not? Because when they were leaving, I told them, look, if the dress doesn't arrive, we have other clothes. We will wear those ones and come to church. So this guy, Albert, his cousin, who was a student in Ukraine, he had been at home for that holiday. He's the one who came with the dress. So Albert now became our best man. He drives me all the way to like another 2 hours away from church to pick the jewelry and the shoes, and then we go to church. Meanwhile,
and the rings.
Meanwhile, Francis has gone to church ahead of me, just hoping that I make it on time.
And you made it on time.
I did. The choir of the church were excited. It was the first church wedding. Russians don't do church weddings. At least up to that time they didn't. They were not recognized. They used to do their weddings at the registry. So you'd go to the registry and then you come and do a reception. But we wanted a church wedding. At least I wanted a church wedding. So the pastor agreed to do it, and then the Australian pastor was going to officiate it because in Australia they do church weddings. So it was going to be a legal thing. Our embassy had sent us the certificates. So in fact, somebody from the embassy had come that day from Moscow. So it was completely official and everything as far as Kenya is concerned and as far as Russia is concerned also. So I arrived there and I was clueless that there would be a choir waiting for me. And I arrived and they're singing at the stairs. I was like, I'm just going to be tears and tears. I come from a family, when we are happy, we cry. When we are sad, we cry. So it's just like, hey, God, this is going to be difficult. And then one of the American pastors, because after the Crusades, they started a church there. So one of the American pastors and his wife were also coming to officiate, but they were going to be my parents. And they have 2 beautiful girls. They had dressed them in whites to be my maids. So it's like, now I had a full Kenyan-like wedding, you know, something I completely didn't envisage. When I entered the church, at the front, there were like 8 video cameras. I hadn't asked for any, but they were there. One of them was from somebody who worked with TBN. There were like so many still cameras, I think 26 or something. I just looked and I said, God, this is you. So I started crying. And then now these parents of mine were like, no, you need to smile and look up. I'm like, I can't. So she says, okay, just take your time and breathe. Thank God the walk was it was a distance. So by the time I got to the stage, at least I was calm. The wedding went amazing. The African ladies and the men who had been preparing food all the time were there on stage singing Kiswahili songs and what. I'm like, Father, you have outdone yourself in your love for me. I had a beautiful wedding. All our investment for that wedding was our $450, which was his stipend, because his nation gave him stipend. Kenya didn't used to give us stipend. That's what we had put in there. But we had food, we had drink, we had cake, we had an after party, we had everything. We had a honeymoon that we had not paid for. Pastor Chris had already paid for it. So at the after party, which was organized by Ghanaian students, when they did what they were calling ponding, they came and poured drinks on us. Pastor Chris says, they have to go home and change. They're going to change, they'll come back. He put us in a taxi and gave us a hotel key and said, go, I don't want to see you in church tomorrow. I was like, what's going on? So it was so amazing. God did an amazing wedding for us for like no money. Of course, after the wedding, when we came out after the recession, I just came and broke down and wept and wept. So my Kenyan girls were telling me, utaharibu makeup. I'm like, wachana na makeup. I cried. Then Albert was like, let her cry, because otherwise we're going to have a rough afternoon. Let her calm down. Her nerves need to, then you can go and make her up and bring her to the reception. So we had a beautiful, beautiful wedding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Now, your version?
I think for me, my side of what I saw during the wedding preparations and even the wedding day itself, what I told God is that, I don't have, but what I have is what I gave to. And as Josephine said, this is the money I have put together for the whole year. It's $450. And what I told myself is that, and what we even decided, continue on advising ourselves, I said, wedding is not the end of your marriage. Wedding is the beginning of the marriage. So after the wedding, there's a life to live. So what we have now, let's use it. Let's not go and borrow money from somewhere. Let's go and not take a loan somewhere and come and do a wedding that is for only one day. Because after this, we will need to live. We need to eat. We need to go to school. We need to go. That time we're still in school. So there are so many things we need to think after this wedding. People will come and hail you today. They have gone. At the end of the day, they have gone. You are left the two of you. They will not know whether you have food to eat. They don't know whether you have fare to go to school. They don't know whether you have money to buy pen to write notes and all that. So we have to begin to look at what God wants to do and not what we want to do. So this really came up so strongly when the clothes never arrived, because they started sending that clothes, I think 4 months earlier. When I was able to go through, because those days when you want to call back home, you have to go and book. Well, you have to go and book the call. So when you go and book the call, they will tell you, oh, come tomorrow at noon. We have sent a telegram to the person you are going to call. They will be at the place where you want them to be. Then you even go, you call, the thing doesn't go through. you have to book again. So the person may have waited for your call, there's no connectivity. You're also frustrated here. The day you are able to go through, you want to say everything because you don't know when it will cut. So we have been, once in a while I was able to get through to my senior brother, my senior-most brother. I said, Adolf, what is it? So we sent it by TNT, they brought it back. They said they didn't know. So it got to a point when 3-4 days before the day, we said, okay, if this thing is not coming, fine. We'll use what we have. After all, we have not been walking around naked. We have clothes to wear. We have decent clothes to wear. So we just told ourselves, we'll wear what we have. This pastor who works with TBN was very, very sick. So Friday, we normally go to his place, very far, but because of the Saturday weekend and all that, we are not able to. So we called him and said, oh, this is happening on Saturday, and since you are sick, it is okay. We'll talk when you are. You know, this man, the time we got to the church, he was standing there with the cameras from TBN. He said, I have to cover this.
So you have the video?
We had a video. We don't know where it is, but it should be in our...
You should find it.
So we had so many people, so many cameras on the stage. At times, some people send you a photo and say, oh, okay, you mean you were also there? You know, they kept on dropping it in our WhatsApp box, this thing and all that. So it's just amazing that what God did, because we didn't take it upon ourselves to make it happen. We allowed him to do it. And I think that was the beauty of it, because there was no stress at all. There was no pressure where we can say, oh, when we finish, we have to go and give so and so money. We finished the wedding and we had more than when we started with. We had enough money to live on. After putting the 450 there, which was our last money, but the envelopes we got, people who came to give physically and all that, we had enough to sustain us for the rest of the year.
Where were you taken?
As husband and wife?
Yes, like now, where did your husband take you?
Into the 215, the room 215. So I descended from 5th floor to the 2nd floor. That's all that happened.
Why did you go up to a room when you were still being an African?
His room was bigger.
Yeah.
His room was much bigger than mine. Yeah, so we really wanted. We kicked out a Senegalese young man who was living with him. And so now we had the room to ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, starting life as a young couple in a foreign country, number one, does your mother even know you're getting married? And what is she saying?
My mother knew. My mother, I had actually sent for consent. And when the papers came to my parents, my father said no. My father said, I don't know anyone in West Africa. I don't even know if they are cannibals. I don't know what they're going to do with my daughter. There is no way I'm signing these papers. My mother said, so how do we know if he is not already, if he was a cannibal, he would have eaten her by now. So I'm going to sign these papers. My mother took these papers to Isaac Lenaula, the lawyer, and said, I want to sign these papers and send them back for my daughter to get married, because I'm not going to keep her to myself. If she said this is a man, I trust her. So it's my mom who signed my consent papers, and then they sent it back. In fact, the consent papers arrived from the guy at the embassy, came with that, the man who came to Mr. Korea, who came to our wedding from the embassy, and he gave me the envelope of the consent after the wedding. When we came out, and now I was crying, I opened the envelope and I didn't see my dad's signature. I wept. I knew my dad had said no. I just knew my dad had said no. I came to learn this when I came back home like 3-4 years later, but when I saw that it was my mom who had signed, I knew that dad had said no.
Wow, and that made you feel really?
I felt terrible. I was like, why would he say no? Why wouldn't he even ask for some details or something? I was like, okay. God, you are my dad. That's what I said. And I just proceeded on with the wedding.
But fast forward, many years later, is he still alive?
Yeah, my dad is. He's very happy. He says the only son he has is Francis. This is his favorite son. He's very, very happy now. Very proud to have a son called Francis. And then my mom is no longer there, but my mom used to always shame him. Huh? Which Francis? Do you even know him? This is my son, not yours. Anyway, so we start our life now in this, what is it? 215. It's not a bed sitter. It's not a, it's just a student's room. But that's where even Ruth, when Ruth was born, I came to Kenya, had Ruth, and went back with her. So I brought up Ruth in that 215 room until when she was 1 year, and the father took her to Ghana.
To Ghana. Yeah.
So by this time, Francis now finishes school. I am here with this baby of mine. I'm bringing her up. He has gone back to Ghana. I am in school, and I have a baby. But before he goes away, when we just got married, after about a month, somebody in church is traveling to Germany for a year and gives us their apartment and says, you can live in my apartment. This is a 3-bedroom apartment in a nice place in Russia. And they say, we can live there for free. We're not paying any rent. We're just paying bills. Our heads, we are like, oh God, you have come again. So we lived there. And his mom was staying in the lower apartment. So we're like in 3rd floor and she was on 2nd floor.
Who's mom?
The mom of the owner of the apartment. Every night we came back home from school, cold and what, she would be there waiting for us with a cup of tea, with salad, with I don't know what. You know, she was just like pampering us. Because now her son and the daughter-in-law have gone, she has no one to spoil. We got all that spoiled. Another God provision. We were just like, God, you are amazing. So our first year was very amazing. We stayed together in that apartment. Then we moved back to the hostel when he needed to leave. Then you left and left me with Ruth.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
As you said, room 215, anywhere we see 215, it takes us back to those years. 215 is a significant number for us. And I think one time we went somewhere also, we were given room 215. We said, why is this thing following us? I think we were in Washington also, and we were given room 215. We went somewhere, we were given room 215. I said, what is this? So it's like, it has become a symbolic number, but we don't hold on to that number. But we spent quite a number of years in that room. But looking back, for me, the reason why I left her with Ruth, at least, is to go and find out what would be the reception back at home. First of all, I don't know where I'm going to take her. Because we don't have a house. When I was leaving Ghana, I was actually sleeping on the floor. And when my senior brother is not there, I borrow the bed. You know, it's like when he's not there, I get a bed to sleep on. When he comes, I'm on the floor. So now I have a wife, and the children are there. So where am I going to take this lady? So I said, you know what? Let me go and do national service. I still need 1 year because I did 1 year in Form 6, after Form 6. Then after your university degree, it's a must. It's mandatory for you to finish. It's like paying back your help to the government. So you have to do your national service. All this time, I have been thinking, I say, hey, in case this lady comes down with this battalion, where am I going to hide? And all that. But just along the way, I said, oh, no, I just have to finish, go back, and go and pick Ruth. So we went, we talked, then finally she said she wanted to come. And I said, you can't come. I have to come rather, so that, because you can't travel with Ruth. The Russians will never allow you to do that. The mother cannot travel with the child. So I have to travel with the child. The man has to travel with the child. Unless I've given her consent.
It's actually the Kenyan law.
The Kenyan law. And she has a Kenyan passport. So I have to go back. I went back.
At that time, you couldn't travel. I thought it's different. Like now, my husband is traveling with our daughter, and I have to give consent.
At that time,
a man cannot travel with a child.
No, that's when I discovered that we are a patriarchal society. You know, I didn't know that I can't travel with his child without his consent.
Yeah.
I cannot. I couldn't believe it.
So I came, we stayed for some time, I think for 6 months. Then I went back with Ruth. So I was with Ruth now down there. So going through, making her happy. Now when she even got there, she actually blended into she was only speaking Russian. So when she was playing with the children, she speaks Russian. I don't know how the other children understood. They complied. When they don't comply, she beats them because she was very huge. You know, she has a very big body. So she kept on tormenting them. So one time, No, in Ghana now. Yeah, in
so
Ghana.
you moved to Ghana?
No, she was still in Russia. I left her
I
there.
didn't finish school.
She has not finished. So one time from church, and I called because I know the time difference is about 3 hours. So I know when I call around this time, church will have just finished, so I can get her in church because there was no mobile phone. So I called. I said, look, what God is telling me is this: that we may not move to Ghana, we may need to move to Kenya. He said, how do you get that? I said, that's what I heard. That time we have shipped our everything. In fact, we're even starting a broadcasting station. We have the equipment and everything shipped there. We invested some money and we sent everything down there. So when it happened, the licenses I was running after, I just said, okay, we are not going to run after this. I've set up the satellite dishes and all that and everything in place. I was even beginning to wire from home. I was doing cable TV. So I just left it like that.
Like, where did you hear this voice? Like, how did it come? In what form?
It's just like, I think when your work with God is consistent, there are some things that happen. There are some things that you read from His Word. There are some things that He goes on, some things will go on around you, and you begin to piece things together. It didn't come one day. It came up like one after the other, and it was piling up. And then finally when I said, it is time for me to tell Josephine about that, he said, that's exactly what I also heard.
Josephine, how did you hear this?
This is how I hear God, and then this is not a formula. Everybody hears God differently. One of the ways that I hear God is that there are things I think about, there are dreams I have, there are things like I want. Then God intercepts that and says something that I know for sure, that's not me. That couldn't have come from me. So who is that talking? And because I am walking with God, I read His Word and what? I say, God, would you confirm this? If this is of you, would you confirm it? So when he called to say that he thinks God is saying we should come to Kenya, I was like, I have that confirmation too. I have been wrestling with it because I thought if I say it, it will sound like I don't want to leave home. So that's why I told God, confirm it with Francis if this is of you. And many times when God speaks to you, it's something that God wants you to do that you know for sure it's not your voice. It's like you're hearing a voice and you know, this is not my voice. This is not even my language. I wouldn't put it like this. If it was me saying it, I would have used these words. But because it's God saying it, many times when God speaks to us, He speaks almost according to His word. It will come like a verse, that, like, you know, a verse that you've read before, like the way He told Abraham, I want you to get up and leave your people, and I will show you where to go. And then you ask, where am I going? So it will be very much in line with scripture language, and so you know it's not from me. So for me, that's how I know this is not of me. This is God speaking, and I know it's different for different people. I know for some people it's through dreams. I know for some people it's through visions. They can see. They actually see something that they read out. But for me, it's just my thoughts. But I know that's not my voice in my mind. Yeah.
Wow. So then you call her, and then now you ship everything back. Like, how does it progress from there?
We don't ship anything.
We left everything.
But then when he came, he left and left me pregnant with now another child, Irina. So now I'm there doing my exams, doing my final year, defending. Irina right now really likes to sleep, and we are saying because we deprived her of sleep when she was in the womb, I would sometimes stay for 3 days just trying to finish up my thesis on time so that I can leave, because I knew I had so little time. So I'm leaving now. They have come back to Kenya. Nothing. Ruth and the father and their suitcases left everything, all our investment in Ghana. They're just coming by faith. To come and start life here.
To come and start all over again.
Left all. Which year is this now?
That was in 96.
Yeah.
And satellites, I mean, that was a big investment.
It was.
It was. So we come.
By faith.
Yes. So now they come and wait for me, and I'm saying I'll be defending on this day. Immediately I defend, I'll take a train, go to Moscow, and fly out that night because I don't have time. My baby is about to come. I'm 9 months pregnant, and I'm insisting on traveling. So I get to Moscow, all right. When I'm in the train in Moscow, when I'm preparing to go and board the train, my labor pains begin. And I tell myself, the Samburu girl that I am, I have about 13, 15 hours. I can make it home with this baby. 22. So I come to Moscow. I go around looking for tickets. So when I go to the Ministry of Education, they're the ones who are giving us the ticket to come home. And they say, oh, and you're expectant. But thank God you're not yet 6 months, because nowadays if you're more than 6 months, we won't allow you to travel. I'm like, oh, just allow me to travel. I think I'll make it home. I'm in pain. But this guy is thinking I'm 6 months pregnant. I'm like, okay, no problem. Only but here to ticket. So he says, okay, the person who is supposed to sign off your documentation has gone for lunch. Why don't you go and come back at 2? So I cross the road. I have a friend called Irina who has come with me all the way from St. Petersburg. We're walking around with her. So we cross and sit at a McDonald's, and I'm thinking, God, how many hours do I have? I just need to get into that flight and go home. How many hours? The flight is at night. Labor pain started last night. I'm still trying to push it. Then the water broke. I was like, what is this? Everybody there panics. They are announcing over the speaker, is there a doctor in the house? They've taken me to a room. They've brought new sheets. They're like, is it okay? You can push now. There's a doctor. There's a nurse. I'm like, I'll go to hospital. So I put my legs like this, and I'm like, I am going to hospital. Call the ambulance. And Irina is telling me, stop being stubborn. You might kill the baby. And I'm like, I will go and get my baby in hospital. So call the ambulance. They're like, the ambulance is 20 minutes away. I'm like, I'll wait. Where are we going? So 20 minutes, the ambulance comes. Then the doctor says, now you can deliver the baby in the ambulance. I said, let's go to hospital. Another 20 minutes to hospital. When now we get to the hospital, I'm like, where is the labor ward? I'm ready to push my baby out. So they take me to the labor ward and they say, this is the first time they're delivering an African kid in this hospital. Every doctor, even the president of the hospital, wants to be present. Wait. I'm like, no, I am ready. They're like, we will help you. I'm like, no, I can't do this by myself. So I get my baby. And now my life is upside down. My husband with the other child is in Kenya. They are in Nairobi. There's no way I can call them that I'm not coming, because they're expecting me to arrive tomorrow morning. I'm going to be here. They're saying they have to keep me in hospital for 2 weeks. I'm like, why? That's the rule. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm ready to leave. Do you know I discharged myself literally out of that hospital?
And going where?
I want to go home. The next flight to Kenya is in 2 weeks. There's no way I can lie in this hospital for 2 weeks and then miss that flight again. I have to get out, go get documents for this child, and be on that flight. So 3 days I'm like standing outside with my baby. You're either discharging me or I am leaving. Yes, they thought I was mad, but they were like, how strong can these African women be? They were so shocked. They signed me out, I left. Now we arrive, at least another pastor there was willing to host us in Moscow. Now every day is to get up. You go to the embassy. First you have to go to the registrar of births to get a birth certificate. Then you process a passport for this child. Before now you're in a flight. Every day is ticking towards the flight. So I get the birth certificate. I go now to the embassy and they're like, we can't allow you to travel with the child without the father. I'm like, the father is in Kenya. Call him and ask for his consent. No. Do you know the last day, I went there every day. The last day I go there with my baby, with my luggage. I'm going home. So I put this baby in a carry basket. Irina made for me a nice carry basket where the lady...
And you called the baby Irina?
Yes. The baby could sleep. So I carry this basket to the embassy and I tell the ambassador, here is the formula, here is the nappies, here is everything, here is the baby. I'm going to the airport. So you're either going to stamp this baby in my passport so I can travel with the baby, or you're going to stay with the baby until the father can get a ticket to come and pick her. I don't know what you want to do. No, but that's not possible. I'm like, okay. I take my luggage, I crawl out my luggage and I go out of the door. The security ran after me. Hey, what are you? What is wrong with you? Are you really an African woman? How can you leave your baby? I'm like, what do you want me to do? You have refused me documents. So I come and they say, okay, we are going to stamp your baby. But we are going to give you an officer to go with you. When you cross to the air side, they will cancel the stamp. So I'm like, and then when I arrive at the other side, I leave the baby in the flight. Or what do I do? Because I'm willing to leave the baby. And they'll come back with the baby here. I said, now what are we going to do? I said, so the ambassador said, that's the best I can do. I'll give you, so you cross, but after that you need to cancel. I'm like, okay, let's go. So we actually go all the way to the airport with an officer from there. As soon as we crossed, she told me, look, you go. She was a lady. She's like, there's no way I can do that to you. You just go. When you land, you will know what to say, why you are traveling with a baby without the father's consent. But as far as we are concerned, we are finished with you. That's how I came home with him. But now that was 2 weeks later. These guys have waited for me. I'm not arriving. I'm not hearing anything. So they traveled back to Nakuru. That time we were staying in Nakuru. They traveled back to Nakuru empty-handed. Mom didn't come. And then is when I'm able to call later to say, okay, Irina came earlier than expected, but we'll be traveling in 2 weeks' time.